Did you know that a researcher who initially made this claim, the OG Vases, that we cannot reproduce them even with today's CNC machinery, changed his opinion after seeing the new 2025 scanning results and related study? Did you know Gerdes wrote that Adam Young deliberately used incorrect data to make CNC machined replica vases look much less precise than the alleged real ancient artifact? Hi guys. Today I want to show you some crucial information on the precise Egyptian stone vases that are not being discussed or at best glossed over. Information that might change your view on these stone vessels. Many have heard of the claim that the ultra-precise predynastic stone vessels, sometimes referred to as the OG vases, are so exceptional that we cannot reproduce them to the level of complexity and precision even with today's CNC machinery. Did you know that a researcher who initially made this claim, Mark Quist, an engineer who used the CAD to analyze the first scan of the OG vase PV001 and proposed that the vase form was mathematically driven, changed his opinion after seeing the new 2025 scanning results and related study? His initial 2023 remarks, including this graph, proving the vase's high precision, was based on a structured light scan, while the 2025 CT scan delivers over 5 times more vertices with significantly finer resolution, revealing the vessel's complete geometry. Dr. Max Firmitchev-Zamolov initially thought that the precise stone vases could not have been made by ancient Egyptian tools. He sought to prove this by making the effort to travel overseas to scan museum artifacts and privately collected pieces. After scientifically analyzing the scan data, he reversed his belief because the evidence stated otherwise. Stine Gerdes was truly intrigued by Mark Quist's article and worked with Adam Young for almost 2 years, providing metrological and statistical analyses and precision reports of the stone vases. Did you know Gerdes wrote that Adam Young deliberately used incorrect data to make CNC machined replica vases look much less precise than the alleged real ancient artifact? And along with other questionable conduct, including fabrication? Max and Stine are open-minded researchers who are generally interested, invested in, and have studied the hypothesis that the ultra-precise stone vases were products of lost ancient high-tech. They wanted to test this hypothesis through rigorous scientific means, and they reached the same conclusion. Among the 56 or so 3D scanned stone vases, which are supposed to be predynastic, there are around 4 that are considered ultra-precise or micron-level precise, and they're all from private collections, such as Adam Young's PV001 and Matt Beall's V18. These micron-level precise stone vases have no verifiable provenance to prove their authenticity. Ben of UnchartedX claimed that some OG vases have impeccable provenance, but research into their reported history found historical errors. In other words, besides the visual resemblance, there is no real proof that these ultra-precise items are from predynastic Egypt. So, are these OG vases real ancient artifacts? I aligned and overlaid front view scans of 2 OG vases with similar predynastic museum pieces with lug handles. I found something interesting, something subtle yet visually telling. No one else had analyzed them from this angle, which I'll show you in this video. Many have heard how accurate the lug handles are and how difficult it is to create them. Well, my finding is about the ultra-precise lug handles. I'll present you with what I have, and you can make your own judgment. Let's get started. In January 2023, UnchartedX published a Polyworks report created by Chris Dunn's son, Alex Dunn, on an extremely accurate stone vase obtained via structured light scanning. The vase is PV001 from Adam Young's collection, purported to be a predynastic Egyptian artifact from over 5,000 years ago. Shortly after the scan data was released, Mark Quist carried out geometrical analyses and made CAD models. Back then, Mark was not certain about the vase's authenticity and simply shared his findings with a clear belief that it was important to investigate it further. After he analyzed the data, Mark proposed that the vase's geometry displays mathematically coherent design principles and stated that the vase was so precise that he was doubtful whether modern CNC machinery would be able to replicate. This remark has been repeated over and over and became quite famous. However, after reading a 2025 report which contains new data, new info, and analysis based on updated scanning, Mark changed his opinion. Here is what he wrote. Given the overall picture of everything we now know, and a demonstrably horrible track record of the Artifact Foundation, I cannot escape openly stating my current personal opinion as to the authenticity of this artifact. The object itself, or at least its current form, is definitely not 5,000 years old. It's either a modern replica, contemporary piece, or it was acquired as an ancient article, but later reworked to achieve its extraordinary qualities and features. Which report made such an impact? It was written by Stine Gerdes, who was intrigued by Marquis' 2023 controversial article and started a rigorous scientific pursuit spanning 30 months of precision documentation and exploration of a geometrical pattern. She worked extensively with Adam Young and later his Artifact Foundation for almost 2 years, from mid-2023 to February 2025. During this time, she had access to Young's scanned data and provided Young with metrological analysis and precision reports. I listed her studies in the description section. Please check them out. She utilized high-resolution 3D scans of 32 stone vessels from the Petrie Museum and compared them to privately collected ultra-precise items, modern lathe-made objects, and manual replicas. She published her evaluation metrics and a detailed assessment of geometric precision on each individual vase for everyone to review. So did physicist and engineer Max Fomitchev-Zamolov, who published all his scanning results, his calculations, and his metric in a scientific, transparent manner. Stine recorded that the fallout with Young began in February 2025, when an inconvenient truth emerged from her analysis. A handmade alabaster vase showed unexpected precision, which was dismissed by Adam Young. A serious event happened, including a 2024 Cosmic Summit. Young deliberately used incorrect data to make CNC machined replica vases look much less precise than the alleged real ancient artifact. And for the real ancient artifact vessel comparison, he substituted data from his private collection piece, PV002, instead of the actual vase original artifact, PV006, creating a false narrative of extraordinary ancient precision. If someone indeed hides or fudges numbers in order to fit their narrative, it's certainly suspicious. So, what did Stine find through her study on the stone vases? Why Young and his Artifact Foundation threatened legal action against her if she ever publishes anything? A major conclusion from her 2025 analysis of museum-held predynastic artifacts is that they are statistically indistinguishable from modern handmade replicas and operate within the limits of hand-guided craftsmanship. This is exactly in line with Max's 3D scanning findings, which is published in Nature Heritage Sciences. Even though Stine and Max's implementations differ in specific calculations, the fundamental conclusion is the same. Museum-held predynastic vessels exhibit precision indistinguishable from modern handmade vases and are less precise than the privately owned OG vases. Particularly, Stine pointed out that in all Petrie Museum artifacts analyzed, a consistent pattern emerges. The central axis of the interior surface does not align with that of the exterior, and further, the upper and lower portions of both surfaces often follow distinct sub-axes. Notably, the replica artifact RV003, which was created by Olga Widovina, crafted using only copper tools to simulate ancient techniques, exhibits a nearly identical pattern of axial segmentation. She also explained why Young and Artifact Foundation's geometric mean methodology is fundamentally flawed and scientifically invalid. because by shifting the rotation of the artifact MV008 a mere 0.05 degrees to the right, improve the geometric mean score by 17%. This means that the final output of the geometric mean metric can be artificially manipulated. By modifying an artifact alignment in minuscule and almost undetectable increments, its continued use would produce misleading results that obscure rather than reveal the true manufacturing capabilities of ancient artisans. Stine Gerdes wrote the following: "The dogma that the alternate history community accuses archaeologists of, that they hold on to beliefs in spite of counter-evidence, seems to also be true within that very community. Many people want to conjure up evidence so badly that they distort the data and reject what the data actually shows. I know some may not care much about the museum pieces, since their main interest is focused on the super precise vessels in private collections. Now, let's talk about the OG vases. So far, over 30 museum pieces and about 25 private-owned vases have been scanned and their data published. 405 vessels out of the 56 are considered micron-level precise. One is from the 22 scanned vases of Beall's collection, and 2 belong to Adam Young. Replicas, modern handmade, and lathe stone vases are also scanned for comparison purposes. Some like to mention the 40,000-plus stone vessels under the step pyramid, as if they will have micron-level precision. Please note that both the museum vases and privately collected pieces can appear precise enough to the naked eye. Metrological studies show that the precision gap between handmade and modern machined objects is far narrower than previously assumed, often falling within the 100 to 300 micron range in terms of measurable error. To prove micron-level precision, naked eye visual inspection cannot be used as fact. Adam Young states that his ultra-precise red granite vessels exhibit circularity tolerances as low as 9.4 to 10 microns, and the circularity of the opening is incredibly tight, measuring roughly 25.4 microns. That's very impressive, beyond the standard artisan lathe work, which generally produce errors around 100 microns. However, high-end CNC machining and polishing work can achieve tolerances of 5 to 15 micron and circularity in 5 to 20 micron with hard stone, which means high-quality CNC machinery can make granite vessels on a similar precision level as the ultra-precise artifacts. The reason we don't see such stonework is because in daily life, there is no big market or demand for this type of precise CNC machined stoneware. Compared to stone vessels, semiconductor microchips are substantially more difficult to produce, which involves hundreds of steps to build up layers of interconnected patterns on a silicon wafer. Silicon has a hardness of Mohs 7, harder than granite. Nanometer chips are advanced microchips with incredibly small components measured in nanometers. A nanometer is 1,000 times smaller than a micron. Yet nanometer chips can be mass-produced on a massive global scale. Why? Because they are essential to daily life. Microchips power everything from everyday consumer electronics, smartphones, PCs, to critical infrastructure like fighter jets and medical equipment. And the recent AI system boom has created unprecedented demand for specialized chips. Carving a micron-level stone vase should not be a problem for modern tech, if there was a profitable market supporting it. Modern machine-made vases that Max used as comparisons are purchased from gift shops and eBay and do not represent the highest quality of machine work. Scanning found that machine-made gift shop quality stone vessels are significantly more precise than average ancient examples, but less precise than the most extreme OG vases. Here is the exterior and interior surface variability heat map of PV001, the best vase from Adam Young's collection. It's 12 centimeters or 4.72 inches tall. The interior scanning presents tight, horizontal lathe marks. In comparison, a Petrie Museum artifact's interior exhibits features that match hand drill work. Here is another ultra-precise vessel, V18, from Beall's collection. The markings on the inner surface of V18 very much resemble the lathe marks on a modern machined object. If these super precise vases were really predynastic, that means there used to be high-tech lathe machines during that time. Extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. Is there proof of their antiquity, such as a provenance? The question is not about whether the OG vases are ultra-precise or not. We know they are, but whether they really are ancient and in their original form from predynastic Egypt. The prerequisite of the conjecture that the ultra-precise vases were from lost high-tech is that these vases are verified predynastic artifacts. If one cannot sufficiently prove these items' authenticity, if these OG vases might be forgeries or have been reworked, then the whole precision talk becomes meaningless. People argue that no provenance does not mean that the OG vases are not real artifacts. Sure, but it does greatly increase the possibility of them being forgeries. Artifacts with no provenance, no documented history might come from looting, illicit trade, or collectors failing to record details, but also might be pure forgeries. Experts suggest a huge percentage of Egyptian artifacts, potentially over half or up to 80% of all antiquities in the open market, may be fakes or misattributed. To prevent forgeries, museums use a multi-layered approach to authenticate Egyptian artifacts, combining historical records, expert stylistic observations, and advanced scientific testing. Museum provenance is a documented history of an object's origin, ownership, sales, and notable events, crucial for verifying authenticity. 8 out of the 19 Petrie Museum objects that Max scanned have a record of a specific tomb from which they were excavated. Private collections generally contain a higher percentage of forged ancient artifacts compared to reputable museums. Due to less rigorous or lack of authentication processes, collectors are often targeted by forgers, and these collections frequently hold items without proper documentation or with entirely fabricated provenance. While museums can house forgeries, often acquired through old, unvetted donations, they normally possess better expertise and stricter acquisition policies. For the micron-level precise stone vases, Adam Young has not provided any documented provenance linking them to the archaeological context in which they were found. Ben said in videos that one of the vases in the collection comes from very deep antiquity and has impeccable provenance, was brought out by the Czechoslovakian ambassador to Egypt in the late 1800s, and the provenance is indisputable. However, as Stine Gerdes pointed out, that Czechoslovakia did not exist as a country until 1918. Style-wise, PV003 does not look like it belongs to the predynastic Naqada era, but pretty much resembles certain New Kingdom vessels. PV006 appears to be in a dynastic, possibly New Kingdom fashion, rather than the predynastic Naqada style. Ben also mentioned that Beall has several incredibly precise vessels with impeccable provenance. Here is the provenance of the OG vase V18 from Beall's collection, which is on an antique shop's certificate of authenticity and only goes back a few decades without the place of origin. This is not an impeccable provenance. No provenance does not invalidate these items per se from being historical artifacts, but it makes proving them to be genuine or not more imperative. Other than visual resemblance, there is no solid proof that those ultra-precise items are predynastic artifacts. Speaking of visual resemblance, I want to show you my observations on the typical medium-sized predynastic stone vases with ear-like lug handles compared with OG vases. I overlay the available front view scans of similar stone jars, including 2 OGs and 9 museum ones, which heights range between 6 to 14.4 centimeters or 2.5 inches to 5.7 inches. The tiny handles indicate that these vessels were for string suspension rather than carrying. I noticed that all the museum artifacts lug handles share three characteristics, which could be the signature aesthetic and production standard for these styled and sized vessels in predynastic Egypt. The first feature is that each single handle's shape is like a letter C, or a symmetrical little arch with a fairly uniform arch thickness popping out of the vessel. Occasionally, the handle roots attaching the vessel body are thicker, though the overall handle arch remains its symmetry. These little arch handles tilt like popped-up ears. The handles range from a rounded C to a slightly flattened C. The second shared trait is that the holes of the handles align with the outline of the vase body, appearing touching or being tangent to the body. Keeping lug handles close to the body is primarily beneficial for structural integrity, durability, and their intended function for suspension, reducing the risk of the stone handle cracking or breaking off. The third pattern is that the diameters of the holes are comparable to the thickness of the lug handles. Bigger vases have slightly bigger holes and thicker handles, while the size of the hole is in proportion of the handle. I checked the photos of other same-styled museum stone vases, and their lug handles all seem to have similar features. If you find any similar styled and sized predynastic vessels with different lug handles, please let me know. Let's check the handles on PV001. As we see, they look different from the ones on museum items. The OG handles are much thicker, while the holes are proportionally smaller. The OG holes neither touch nor are tangent with the vase body, instead offset out from the vase, which makes the handles D-shaped but not C-shaped. Additionally, they are slightly droopy and lopsided, not symmetrical. Compared with the ear handles on museum artifacts, the OG has set ears, while the museum artifacts have sticked out and lifted happy ears. Here is another precise vase from a private collection. The locations of the handles' holes appear right, but again, the ear handles are mildly droopy, set ears, and the handle holes look proportionally smaller compared to the handle thickness, which features do not match predynastic artifacts in museums. This is V18, an OG vase. Notice that its lug shapes are not symmetrical arches like the museum counterparts. One side of the handle root slopes and extends more than the other side. PV001 is the most precise vase with micron-level precision. If it's an authentic, predynastic artifact, then it should have represented the aesthetics of that era. Its overall look no doubt resembles Nakata jars, but its lug handles deviate from the three features of the Nakata lug handle style in similar vases, which is strange. I know this is a subtle detail, but the devil is in the details. The OG handles are made very precise, yet the style is off. Can this detail reveal a clue to the vase's true origin? Noticing inconsistencies across otherwise similar artifacts could be how you spot possible fakes from authentic items. On another note, most heat map of the predynastic stone vessels from the Petrie Museum display diagonal or crisscross abrasion marks, which probably came from handheld rubbing stones. Using rubbing stones to smooth and polish stone objects is the most common cause of exterior marks. This process often left diagonal abrasion marks across the surface. Similar marks can be found on predynastic stone mace heads as well. Such fainted diagonal marks are absent on Adam Young's ultra-precise vases. As for the OG vessels in Beall's collection, Max specified that their lack of weathering and damage is typically not expected of artifacts almost 6,000 years old. He finds it odd to see the supposedly predynastic object looking like it was made yesterday, with great surface conditions that lack of any scratches, chips, or nicks, which are distinct from predynastic objects in museum collections. To address why museum vessels show lower precision that are no different from modern handmade ones, Adam and Ben later proposed a dual origin theory. They suggest that the ultra-precise vessels are 12,000-year-old remnants of advanced civilization, while predynastic Egyptian copies are of bare hair and show visible imperfections. Still, the question remains, why these alleged 12,000-year-old artifacts show much less weathering and degrading than the newly excavated Egyptian stone vessels. So, are the few ultra-precise stone vessels from predynastic Egypt from 12,000 years ago, or modern forgeries? With updated information, Mark Quist, who first analyzed PV001 in 2023, now thinks that the current form of this object is either a modern replica or an artifact that got reworked. After reading Max's metrological and radiological studies, Beall remained a nuanced but skeptical openness regarding the authenticity of the ultra-precise stone vases in his collection. He acknowledged that the extreme precision found in some vessels makes them much more likely to be modern forgeries or genuine ancient artifacts that later reworked. Despite the study concluding that many privately held ultra-precise vessels are likely modern imitations, Matt continued to collaborate with Max to investigate the true significance of the vessels through further scientific testing. What are your thoughts? After hearing all this, will you change your opinion on the precise Egyptian stone vessels? I would like to hear from you. If you like this video, please give me a thumbs up and subscribe. You can support me on Patreon, which is a monthly charge, or on Buy Me a Coffee. I appreciate your support. This is Curious Being. I'm Tina. Thanks for watching and see you next time.